I like Mission Impossible. I do not think it's the best franchise ever, but I'd say it's a strong contender for best action franchise. Yes, I do think it's better than John Wick and James Bond. I will die on this hill. Going into this movie, I had really high expectations. The marketing for this movie made me get really hyped, especially seeing Ethan Hunt hanging off the side of an analog plane. And after watching it, was the movie as good as the trailers made it out to be? Yeah, I really liked Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, and I really think it's a good way to end the franchise. Allegedly. Now, some people do wonder, is it the best in the franchise? And to that I say, no. I can see some people say yes, but I still heavily prefer Mission Impossible 6 Fallout. Don't get me wrong, this movie is good, but it has a couple glaring issues that I really want to talk about, and it's mainly the first act. Don't get me wrong, the first act and its inclusion makes complete sense. They already got the key needed in order to access the entity source code. So I knew that going into this movie, they would need to find the exact coordinates of the submarine and then find a way to get to it. But the build up to this is such a long drag. Like, I get it, they needed to set up all these things to establish how we got here. The entity has fear-mongering the whole world, is taking over the world's nuclear supply, is manipulating data, and forcing countries to declare martial law, etc. And while I do appreciate the fact that it sets up the entity to be an actual threatening villain very, very well, I feel like a lot of the first act could definitely have been cut. Something I've seen a lot of people complain is the frequent usage of flashbacks in this movie. While I personally do not mind it, I get why it was implemented in the first place, and I also get why people don't like it at the same time. Why it was implemented is because, as iconic as the Mission Impossible series is, not everyone has seen the movies. So it's implemented to quickly show more casual audiences that yes, these things did indeed happen in another movie. And while I personally don't mind the fact that it made it more accessible to casual movie watchers, I completely get why those who are massive fans of the franchise are going to be annoyed by it. Another thing about the first act that bothers me is that we did not need such a massive buildup to make Ethan Hunt have to go to a US submarine in order to get to the submarine with the entity's code. That said, once we do get to this US submarine is when things start to pick up for the better. Starting from Act 2, holy cow, this is starting to feel like the greatest movie ever. Mind you, it's not perfect, but Act 2 onwards is when the movie really picks up and makes you remember this is a Mission Impossible movie. There were so many scenes starting from this point onward where I felt tense due to what was going on. For example, when Ethan boards the submarine in order to get the entity's source code and retrieve it, the whole time he is in the submarine was on a whole new level of intensity, and there were no words being spoken at all. It's just Ethan navigating a submarine with a bit of claustrophobia. Really, this is the main highlight of Act 2. Just Ethan trying to get in and escape the submarine. But Act 3, this third act might be the best in the entire franchise overall. Like, think Fallout's triple nukes that was gonna cause massive issues in food and water to billions of people in Asia. In this movie, picture way more nukes and it's the entire world at stake. But the main thing that makes the third act really good is how tight on timing they are. In a blink of an eye, the entire world will be saved or destroyed. Literally. I was honestly at the edge of my seat the whole time. Seeing Tom Cruise hanging off the side of a plane while his team is trying to stop a nuke from going off at them while trying to trick the entity. That whole sequence is honestly one of the most intense third acts I've ever seen. And as amazing as this third act is, and how much I'm going to keep rewatching specifically these two acts, there is one major part of this movie I did not like. The villain Gabriel. He was honestly just a whatever character. I get that he has done horrible things to Ethan in the past, but in this movie, he was just so forgettable. Like, so much so to the point where I do not remember a thing he has said or did apart from the plane scene. And even then, I was more invested in Ethan there, not Gabriel. I cannot for the life of me remember a single thing what Gabriel said or did apart from his final scene, which was hilarious. The entity felt a lot more threatening and menacing because, it was actively acting on the world's nuclear stockpiles. Well, Gabriel was just, give me the thing you have, Ethan, so I can rule over the world or something. I mean, Gabriel did do something really evil to show the stakes were high in the first act, but it doesn't feel like it was him. It just felt like it was more so the entity telling him to do that. Not saying what it was specifically, I want to avoid spoiling, but this thing that Gabriel did felt more like the entity's doing. Apart from that, I still think that this movie is good, and I do think that it's a great way to end the series, though I don't know if it is the final movie since Tom Cruise says he wants to keep going until his back gives out, basically. I will definitely rewatch this movie, but like I said, with my major issue being in the first act, I will mainly just be skipping to the good stuff starting in the second act because I do not want to sit through a whole exposition. I give this movie a nice 7 out of 10. By the way, side note, this is just a personal issue for me. Can they chill out with the excessive Dutch angles? Please?